As you can imagine, technique is everything.
nhliberty.org.
Well, what the states will do and what the individuals are going to do, they're just going to ignore the federal government. And that of course will bring on more problems, but then again the society will have to be rebuilt, and that is where I think we come in on how it should be rebuilt, how pervasive our ideas are, how important it is to have sound money. I did make a token step a couple of weeks ago and talked about it last week, just to make the point of how we would rebuild, when the time comes where we could have another currency. And my suggestion has been to allow competition in currencies. And I made the point that even in the post office, we have a little bit of competition because you don't have to use the post office to mail a package. You have UPS and FedEx, and it hasn't been the end of the world, and the post office is still there. I don't know how long they would last if we legalized the delivery of first-class mail, which wouldn't be a bad idea. But we allow competition. We're always being challenged, but we still have the legal right to educate our children in private school and homeschooling. And that's good to people who can do it, afford it, or manage it. That's excellent. But it also sends a message to the public school system that, especially I really get the greatest delight when I see homeschoolers winning some of these geography bees and spelling bees and find out, you mean they actually got educated at home? How did that happen? But there's competition there. It'd be great if we could do something in medicine to preserve competition in medicine. They talk so much on all this reform about the public choice. How many times have you ever heard anybody on TV get up and say, what's the matter with the private choice? Why don't we guarantee a private choice in medicine, which would be the medical savings account? Every penny you put in the account, you get off your taxes, you pay your own bills, and you buy a major medical policy, and the major medical would be actually insurance. It wouldn't be this prepaid social policy. No, that's So the one thing that we should always strive for is to have enough option to get out of a government system, but I think it's becoming tougher all the time. And I'm afraid if and when they do something more with medicine, there won't be any chance at all for you to opt out of the system. But in money's a little bit different. It's more esoteric and people don't understand it as well. But the bill that I've introduced does three things in order to allow individuals to use gold and silver. The first thing is it should be appealing to a few people if you say, well, the Constitution has never been amended, and what does the Constitution says? Only gold and silver can be used as legal tender. That wouldn't be too bad. Just legalize the Constitution. But you guys are radical. That's a radical idea. That's a radical idea for Washington to do that. To do that, though, you have to repeal the legal tender laws. That's where they get their monopoly control. You can't use anything other than Federal Reserve notes as legal tender. And the other thing you would do is allow private mints. If you have a gold coin or silver coin, you ought to be allowed to use it. And they say, the private mints might defraud you. They might not have a full ounce of gold or a full ounce of silver. I said, well, the fraud laws would take care of that. It's just too bad we can't apply those fraud laws to the Federal Reserve System. And the other issue is you shouldn't tax money. If you want to deal in silver dollars, and you go and trade in some of your Federal Reserve notes for silver dollars, and you just go into a shop, they're gonna say you have to pay a sales tax. 7% sales charge on that. Then you go out and you take your silver and you spend your silver. The silver went from $18 to $20. You have to pay capital gains tax on that. it can't work. So you have to get all taxes off money, and all taxes off silver and gold. So why should they be so intimidated? We're not forcing it. We're not blowing up the buildings. We're not closing it down. We're just saying, allow competition. Of course, they know the reason is the competition might embarrass the opposition. And the price of gold embarrasses the opposition as well. They don't like to see, and governments are notoriously anxious always to keep the dollar price or the currency price of gold down, because that's a vote against the currency. And I tell a story in the Fed, and Lou knows about this story. Is one day in the midst of the dollar crisis and gold soaring up to $700-800, we had a private meeting with Volcker, and that's one thing I have given Volcker credit for. He at least would talk to you in a reasonably sensible way. But he had a private breakfast over there for us just to talk. But Lou and I got there, and there was a staff person there, and we were just chatting and nothing special. And Volcker came in, and the amazing thing is Volcker, he wasn't being not cordial, but he went immediately to a staff person. He says, "What's the price of gold?" So they know about it, and just think how long they artificially held gold at $35 an ounce. People always talk about, well, what are they doing these days? Well, with our Federal Reserve's ability to make all kinds of deals with other central banks and financial organizations and foreign governments, they have the facility to do whatever they want in the marketplace. The President's Working Group on Financial Markets, they've actually been given authority to get involved in markets. So do I have proof that they get involved in rigging the gold price? No, I don't, but I suspect it's in their interest to do it. My guess is that they usually come in and maybe get involved, not when gold prices are getting too high, but when there is a more or less natural correction. Let's say markets do that. They go up and then they go down. That they'll do this, and then they'll come in and maybe try to punish people. But that might be too conspiratorial for a group like this. You wouldn't buy into any of that. But I think that a little competition shouldn't hurt them, but they're not likely to give that to us. But in the meantime, if we establish what real money is, then in the midst of a crisis, we ought to be able to come up with an alternative.
Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me.
The issue of liberty itself is, of course, what I have been involved in. I frequently said that, the financial system motivated me in the 1970s to run, and I've been interested in a lot of policy changes. But really, the true interest I have, and I'm sure it's also yours, and that is the preservation of liberty. That to me is what it's all about. If we were in charge and permitted to keep the government's hands off the needed correction, there would have been some painful moments. Matter of fact, some of those big companies, AIG, Goldman Sachs, could have been very painful for them. They might have gone bankrupt, who knows? But just keep our hands off and let it happen. But if you have really some significant changes made, a lot of liquidation of debt, and a lot of scary things happening, after a year or so, if we had our freedom, if we had the marketplace and property rights and contract rights and sound money and strictly limited government, I am so convinced of that philosophy that within a year or two, we would all be back on our feet again, even if those of us who have tried real hard to protect ourselves and our families, if all of it gets wiped off the table, but you're allowed to go back to work and allowed to keep what you earn, I'll tell you what, I think economic growth would come back so fast and we wouldn't have to worry about it.
New Hampshire's State House, among the least bad governing institutions on earth. But even here, legislators plot theft and destruction. However, they don't do it without opposition. The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance stands in their path and stands ready to train you in the ways of the Citizen Freedom Lobby.
Visit nhliberty.org to get involved.